Well, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have an action-packed agenda for you today. You're here because we're going to talk about a Huawei-sponsored webinar. It's not your grandfather's network anymore. This is going to be a fantastic session. We actually have three presenters this morning. First of all, we're going to have the main presenter is going to be Thomas Keenan, who's the Director of Marketing at Huawei. We're also going to have an excellent demo of a tool that many of you are going to want to use by Wang Yang, who's a technical marketing engineer. And then finally, we're going to hear from one of our excellent partners, Mario Garindo, who is the CEO of Ecotech, and he's going to talk a little bit about his experiences in working with Huawei and selling Huawei. Before we get started, just a couple of notes to mention. First of all, we welcome questions and we encourage you to ask questions. So in your GoToWebinar interface, there's a Q&A area where you can type in your questions. Please do that throughout the webinar, and we'll go ahead and respond to those in real time, and we'll take some of the most popular questions, and we will ask and answer those at the end of the session. In addition, as usual, we have some polling questions, so throughout the webinar we're going to stop and take a moment to ask you guys in the audience some questions, and when we do, we appreciate your response to those polling questions. We will share those answers with you so you can see where the rest of the audience stacks up with respect to you on some of these issues. And then finally, as always, this webinar is being recorded. It will be made available on the Huawei website. And we'll show you the URL for the Huawei website as well as the email address and phone number to make further contact with us. So without further ado, I would like to turn over to Thomas Keenan, Director of Marketing for Huawei.
Thank you, Nick. Hello and good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending upon where you are. And welcome to the webinar, as Nick mentioned. My name is Thomas Keenan. I'm Director of Integrated Marketing for Huawei Enterprise USA. And what I'd like to do initially is to go over our agenda. We've got a very exciting seminar, as Nick mentioned, and I do have a couple of invited guests. One will be demonstrating an interesting networking tool we think you'll find fascinating to compare our solutions and how they stack up versus the major competition. And also, as Nick mentioned, a partner reinforcing why he believes that Huawei is a serious enterprise provider, very much worthy of your business consideration. My goals for the day are three. To, number one, review the key trends and inflection points going on in the campus, the data center, and in the metro area. Secondly, highlight that your legacy vendor, although they may have a very comfortable relationship with you, does not necessarily have all the answers on how to navigate those transitions and might actually have more reason to keep you locked into their current approach. And then thirdly, to introduce Huawei as a viable, serious provider for this transition, and that it's probably time to allow another vendor like Huawei to take a shot at helping you navigate the maze. But Nick, before we get started, I do believe we have our first polling question coming up.
Excellent, excellent. So let's go ahead and launch that. So the first polling question that we're going to ask of the audience is, what part of your network needs the most attention right now? Where is your focus? Is it at the data center level? Is it at the campus level, the metro level, or is it more in wireless? So go ahead and place your vote, and we'll take a couple minutes. One other thing I wanted to mention, which I forgot to mention in the intro, is that everybody attending this morning's webinar will receive a $10 Starbucks gift card. So we appreciate your time. We know it's valuable, and so we want you to enjoy a cup of coffee on us. And I think $10 still buys a cup of coffee over at Starbucks, Thomas, if I'm not mistaken. So let's go ahead and give you another 5 or 10 seconds to vote, and then we'll share the results with everybody. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close it out, and let's share the results. So you can see that almost half of you are focused on data center networking issues. Another close to half is wireless, and to a lesser extent campus and metro. So that's good information for Thomas and the other presenters as they go through. So we're going to go ahead and turn it back over to Thomas at this point.
It sounds great. So let me start off with a little background on Huawei for those of you who may not be familiar with us or may have not attended another one of our seminars. To give you some background on the company, you fundamentally need to understand a couple things, what's going on in our industry at this point. So we're very much seeing the convergence and merger of information technologies such as mainframe and server client with communication technologies such as digital comms, mobile communications, and mobile broadband. The convergence, we feel, is being driven by three key trends. Number one, the adoption and use of cloud models, whether that be private, public, or hybrid. The explosion of mobility in almost too many verticals to mention, such as education, retail, public sector, and many others. That's driving the mobile worker percentage ever higher. In some of those verticals, we have over 65% mobile workers as opposed to fixed workers. And then thirdly, the consumerization of IT, where technologies previously seen mostly in the enterprise have now migrated strongly to the consumer base, and there's really cross-pollination going on there. So if you believe that this is ongoing and it makes sense to you, you probably want to ally yourself with a company that spans these technologies and is equally at home with service provider, enterprise, and consumer. And might I suggest that Huawei is exactly that type of a partner. This slide shows a snapshot of who we are and what we do. We're a global ICT player, have been for many years, extremely well known outside the U.S., and we continue to work on making it well known in the U.S. As you can see, we have continued our robust growth despite the downturn in the economy in the last 3 to 4 years. And our revenue for the most recent year was about $35.4 billion. We do serve 45 of the world's top 50 telecom operators, and that's important to the enterprise because bulletproofing of major solutions is usually done first in a service provider environment because the network is their business and there are no second chances, if you would. We're deployed in over 140 countries. We've got about 150,000 employees, and we have as many dedicated to R&D as companies like Cisco actually have employees. So we draw from a very strong R&D base, and I'll talk about that in our innovation story slides. A little bit of a focus on the North American market. The North American regional office was first established in Plano in 2001. That's down in Texas. And we do enjoy a great partnership with U.S. companies, having placed over $6 billion in contracts during 2012 with U.S.-based enterprises as providers. And we officially launched the U.S. enterprise business in October of 2011. If any of you were at Interop New York, you might remember us having a very large presence there. And we do have, I get this question a lot, a full portfolio, not just of our hardware and software solutions, but professional, technical, and learning services in order to scale you up on our network solutions and ensure quick and easy installs. At the highest level, I'm showing a picture of our enterprise product portfolio on this slide. We've got a full enterprise solution covering unified communications, campus, branch, and data center technologies, serving key verticals, as I mentioned, such as retail, higher ed, manufacturing, media, and large enterprises, as well as many others. The breadth of these solutions is basically directly a result of our large R&D organization and the innovations they drive. And let me talk a little bit about that in more depth on the next slide. So at Huawei, we do believe in continuous investment in innovation. A snapshot of what I'm showing here shows you the sheer breadth of the Huawei footprint in the innovation world, and the details such as membership in over 150 international standard organizations, many of those with leading roles, 23,000 standard-related manuscripts having been produced, and over 26,500 patent applications granted. This is as of the end of last year. And as you can imagine, all this activity has garnered us many awards that you may have seen in the industry, just to mention 2 or 3. The Economist recognized us earlier this year as a major company with corporate use of innovation. The Broadband World Forum, which some of you may attend their trade shows, gave us the InfoVision Award for Best Broadband Access Product. And finally, we did get from Informa, which is a standards organization and a publication, the Best LTE Commercial Performance Award and the Best Contribution to Long-Term Evolution R&D. So that's just a snapshot of some of the awards that we have garnered over time. Okay, so now let me move on. We'll now quickly proceed to a quick examination of the top CIO industry care-abouts, i.e. what are the top trends they need to stay on top of, how have they shifted in recent years, and from there on we'll link to industry trends like cloud, SDN, mobility, and what are the top touch points in each one of those. And finally, to where the rubber meets the road, we'll discuss campus, data center, and metro networks, and what discussions your networking vendor should be having with you in those areas to earn your trust and your budget, quite frankly. Showing on this slide the results of a company called Gartner, which is a major research agency that surveys many top CIOs and presents those results at the end of each year. And so the results I'm showing are for 2012. If you take a careful look at the top 5, analytics and business intelligence, mobile, cloud, collaboration, and virtualization trends in particular, these are the top 5 things keeping CIOs up at night. And they have mostly been moving up in terms of importance over time. And they directly link into the rest of this webinar. So have these in mind as we move into the next section on key trends in data center, campus, and metro. They'll come up over and over again, and they are highly related to what we'll be talking about and mirrored in the slides. Okay, Nick, I believe at this point it is time for a very exciting second polling question.
Thomas, you're right, and you did mention this acronym. You talked about SDN and the fact that you're going to talk about it a little bit more in detail. So what we want to find out right now from the audience is what is your time frame for adoption of SDN in your environment? And the choices are you've already adopted it or you're in the process of adopting it. You're going to do it within the next 6 months, between 6 months and a year, 1 to 2 years, or more than 2 years out. So this is going to give us a feel for how you're proceeding along with SDN. While you're taking this poll and answering these questions, one other to remind you, there is a question and answer tab with your GoToWebinar interface. Please keep your questions coming. We'll answer those in real time as much as we can, and we will take some at the end as well. So definitely keep answering your questions. We're going to let this proceed for about another, 5 or 10 seconds, and then we'll find out where you guys are relative to SDN. Okay, let's go ahead and close it out, and now we'll share the results. As you can see, there's just a handful of you that are already adopting SDN. A decent majority is really waiting quite some time, 1 year or more, between 1 year and 2 years, and then more than 2 years out. And there's a good percentage of you guys that are doing it within the next year, so that's very useful information. And hopefully it will help Thomas as he guides his way through there. So, Thomas, back over to you.
Sounds great, Nick. Thanks very much. So my next section covers some industry trends. Let's take a look at these, and let's see what's driving new opportunities for vendors and customers, but also the challenges as well, no matter in the campus, data center, or metro networks. There's a combination of opportunity and challenge that each one of these trends will bring about. Okay, so the first trend that I'm showing here is machine-to-machine. That at M2M means machine-to-machine innovation. It's coming to life. It's actually a trend that a lot of you may not even be aware of. But in essence, it's changing the landscape for the needs and requirements of networking equipment. There has been, in the last few years, an exponential growth in the number of machines out there with sensors that can communicate. As a matter of fact, it's a $15 trillion industry end-to-end. And at the end of the day, more and more things that we use commonly every day will be embedded with the sensor. The net of all of this is we need a real-time and a low-latency, no-nonsense network to support all of this growth. Okay, so my second trend is showing this very interesting industry survey on where the network bills from enterprises are directed. Let's start with mobility, where research tells us that up to 65% of many enterprise workforces are partially or totally mobile, i.e. they work on the road, but not in a fixed headquarter or branch location. In 2012, the enterprise wireless networking was the biggest in total business networking equipment investment ratio, accounting for nearly 1/3 of all investment. Mobile devices, remote and mobile access equipment, and instant messaging systems accounted for 40% overall, which are also all associated with a mobile business. So net-net, there are more than 70% of all investment somehow related to wireless network construction. This continues to yield the need for more powerful networks, intelligent terminals, and more dependency by mobile business by the enterprise. So my third interesting industry trend is the merging of the worlds of video conferencing and video streaming. So what's key for the enterprise network here to support is being able to affordably create high-quality communications, be able to efficiently manage, track, and secure video content throughout the enterprise, and finally delivering this video content in real time and on demand to various target audiences. In sum, the enterprise really needs to be video ready for the future, and a large portion of all the traffic that the internet and extranet will carry in the future will be video. This is the fastest type of traffic growth we are seeing worldwide. My next trend is the rise of cloud models, whether public, private, or hybrid. That's the next trend. It promises much better economics for network equipment purchases, especially those on a temporary project or peak use period project. More and more enterprises are delegating a portion of their workload to the cloud, often starting on a low-risk project and migrating up from there, especially if this allows a pay-per-use model. Okay, my final industry trend is one that will always get a survey mention. No matter what the CIO survey will see, there's a mention of security. Okay, let me try that again. Security issues can be the downside of all this new freedom we have with the new networking models. A variety of terminal types can now access enterprise networks, and there are more channels of potential information loss than ever before. There's also lots of means to attack on the internet, which can easily lead to critical information leakage. Finally, internal network abuse and hack attacks can wreak incalculable loss on the enterprise information assets, and actually more attacks of this type come from inside than outside the network. And then finally, employee misuse and phishing websites can cause losses of themselves. So obviously having an end-to-end security strategy now is more important than ever. Okay, so that wraps up my industry trends section. So Nick, we'll move right on into the trends in the network, which is really where the rubber hits the road for this webinar. We talk first about the campus network. Enterprise information technologies have gone through three developmental phases. The standalone PC era that reduced manual labor, the data era that saw the beginning of information sharing, and current multimedia cloud mobile era that focuses on high-quality services experience. Development of information technologies increases demand for bandwidth, and emerging information technologies push forward the development of campus networks, while the growth of campus networks supports the development of new enterprise information technologies. In 2012, Information Week estimated that 75% of enterprises are using or willing to use BYOD, or bring your own device, as a work mode. This allows an employee to use any type of terminal anywhere, anytime to access the network. Wired and wireless sections of a campus network must be seamlessly interconnected so that employees can enjoy the same online experience. Today, campuses are handling more data than ever, and more services than ever before migrating to cloud platforms. The new traffic model requires a small ratio between uplink and downlink bandwidth. As predicted by Gartner, shipments of K-shaped switches with 1 gig ports exceeded shipments of those with 100 megabit ports in 2012, and we expect this trend to continue. Not only that, but the cost of 10 gig optical modules and ports are decreasing every year, while the number of 10 gig ports is increasing rapidly. Gartner predicts that 10 gig port shipments will maintain an annual growth rate of 45% during the next 5 years. A 10 gig aggregation network will be essential to the development of services in the future. In summary, for the campus, your vendor needs to show you a path to keep up with performance demands, provide wired and wireless integration, and all improve network reliability so you can take advantage of the new cloud networking models. Let's move on now to the data center. The scale and complexity of data centers and carrier networks are testing the limits of legacy IT gear and practices. Most IT organizations are extending their applications to run across geographically distributed data centers or entirely moving workloads to the cloud. Workloads, user flows, and applications are running on top of virtual and physical appliances, increasing data center networking complexity, east-to-west data center traffic, in addition to inter-data center traffic. And these are all on exponential growth curves. Looked at in another way, IT is being driven by three main things: new traffic patterns, east-west to north-south, federated applications, and VM mobility. Static and tiered network architectures are showing their age and are no longer able to keep up due to redundant costs, management complexity, and limited visibility into apps. The answer to all of this, at least partially, might be SDN. Software-defined networking represents an industry shift that decouples data and control planes and virtualizes applications, this allowing the addressing of the new data center networking and security landscape. Let me now move on to the metro area, the metro network. The issues that I've talked about to begin at the core slowly but surely migrate out to the metro edge. And so the premium for the enterprise in this space is to understand and manage an end-to-end network performance out to the metro edge. And this demands three main characteristics of that metro network. Number one, network fault recovery time, being very brief to enhance network reliability to meet the needs of the cloud era. End-to-end service quality management guaranteeing desktop cloud visualization dimensional maintenance. and finally, an end-to-end unified network management system that will achieve third-party device adaptation. Your vendor, I believe, should be talking to you on how all these are going to come together with a solution if they deserve a place in your network. And Nick, with that, I believe, just before we get into Huawei solutions and game plan, it's time for our third polling question.
Excellent. Thomas, what we're going to have you do is get a drink of water, buddy, because you're going to need to take a little drink here. But, yeah, let's do our last polling question. And this question is, Thomas mentioned a little bit about wireless. So the last question on polling is, what is your time frame for adoption of 802.11 AC in your environment? Have you already adopted it, or you're in the process of it within the next 6 months to a year, 1 to 2 years, or more than 2 years out? So the wireless protocols are evolving rapidly, and we're trying to get a feel for where you stand with regards to 802.11 AC. Again, keep your questions coming in the Q&A panel. We're getting some great ones, and we'll be asking the majority of those at the end of the session if we still have time, which is going to be great. Got a great demo coming up here in a minute, and some remarks from one of our excellent partners. So lots of good stuff still to come. I'm going to go ahead and close out the poll at this point and share the results with everybody. And what you can see is that some portion of you have already adopted 802.11 AC. There's another kind of 20% that are doing it within the next year, and probably a little over half of you are still more than a year out or more than 2 years out. So interesting feedback, and we're going to go ahead and flip it back over to Thomas.
Okay, thanks, Nick. So appreciate the poll results. Rest assured that Huawei does provide a wide variety of solutions to address the issues in campus, data center, and metro that many of you are feeling. We do span the gamut from core to edge routing, security, data center and campus switching, as well as transmission and wireless solutions for those who are looking for an optical or a wireless answer to a networking problem. Importantly, unlike many other vendors, Huawei provides a centralized management package, eSite, that I'm showing on the right-hand side of the screen, to instrument and control and troubleshoot the solutions you see here. So let me start with the campus. We have a high-performance 10G campus suite that provides a full array of switches for access, aggregation, and core applications. And we do support 3 main characteristics: high performance, reliability, and we are extremely eco-friendly. Let me add light on that last issue very quickly. The efficient use of energy is becoming increasingly important as enterprises scale, obviously, and grow their infrastructure. And the energy efficiency features on Huawei switches can reduce power consumption by up to 30% in many applications, which has earned us some recognition from an organization known as Meyercom, which a lot of you are probably familiar with as a testing organization, for achievements in energy savings. Many of the Huawei switches that we deploy in various applications support IEEE 802.3 AT, also known as Power over Ethernet. Also, that provides a total of 30 watts for mobile endpoints. Our power sourcing equipment provides intelligent power management, including power allocation, detection, and classification. And we also support advanced hibernation management framework. This integrates both port and ASIC hibernation to be deployed at every layer of the network. We also use intelligent fan adjustment to cut down on energy use. Huawei WLAN products for wireless provide intelligent access to wireless campus networks. We use eSite, which is a package I mentioned, to provide unified management for wired and wireless devices, facilitating network deployment and improving network management efficiency. The network quality analysis technique monitors network quality in real time, intelligently analyzing the network running status and simulating network services. 3 main characteristics of the wireless LAN product portfolio that I'm showing are intelligent coverage, intelligent control, and intelligent operation and maintenance. And we do provide a full line of both access controllers and access points. And my access controllers are in both case form factors and line card. Turning to the data center portfolio, the Cloud Engine provides, which we launched, by the way, earlier on, actually last year and then shipped starting in this year, we provide high bandwidth of up to 2 terabits per slot today, and is expandable in the future with upgradable fabrics and line cards to a total system switching capacity of up to 64 terabits. And that is the Cloud Engine 12816 that I'm showing in the top left. The Cloud Engine series incorporates cluster switching system to virtualize multiple switches into one logical switch, as well as the virtual system, or VS, to virtualize one switch into multiple independent logical devices. We also support virtual machines by allowing network administrators to build large-scale Layer 2 networks with over 500 nodes using Trill, and the Cloud Engine series is also able to achieve over 10 times the virtual parallel processing capability of the industry average. So great product to get more familiar with for your data center needs. And again, it comes in both module and top-of-rack form factors. Moving along here, if you're wondering how we compare from a switch or a Cloud Engine perspective, I'm showing an industry-leading port density chart versus one of my main competitors, which is Cisco. So whether we're talking about the Nexus 7000, the 6500E, or the 4500E, we actually compare very, very favorably. Testing and the results that I show here are all available. If you'd like to go to the meyercom.com website, it's MEYERCOM.com website, or drop us an email at a URL that we'll give you at the end of this seminar, and we'll get you full details. In the storage area, Huawei believes in the concept of intelligence on demand and convergence for the future. Intelligent to us means intelligent elastic architecture, intelligent data distribution, and intelligent management and scheduling. Convergent refers to protocol convergence, product technology convergence, and lifecycle management convergence. We do have three main storage families. That's SAN storage, solid state, and NAS. And many of these will be on display at the upcoming Supercomputing 2013. That's this month in Denver, Colorado. If you are heading out that way, definitely stop by our booth. We'd love to give you a demo of our storage and our server products. I talked a little bit about SDN and the Huawei S12700 series Agile switches, which were just launched. Our core switch is designed for next-generation campus networks. They use a fully programmable switching architecture. And so instead of having an embedded ASIC that might take a year or two to spin to get you the next version of protocol support, this is actually we use what's called an Ethernet network processor on board. And we also provide native wireless access control to help build a wired and wireless network, converged network. We do run Huawei's Versatile Routing Platform, or VRP, which provides high-performance L2 and L3 switching, as well as rich network services such as MPLS VPN, hardware-based IP version 6, desktop cloud, and video conferencing. Back to the campus, the AR series routers are next-generation enterprise class routers based on the Huawei proprietary VRP, which takes advantage of Huawei's long-term accumulation in data communication, wireless access, and core networks. They consist of the AR15200, the 1200, 2200, and 3200 series, and they scale from small to medium business all the way up to the full enterprise. The AR1200 in particular is a sweet spot enterprise configuration incorporating routing, switching, 3G, WLAN, voice, and security functions. Okay, I talked about eSite a little bit. Let me move quickly through this. But as the network scales, the number of enterprise network applications continue to grow. So does the number of devices, such as multi-service routers, gateways, and access points, which someone needs to control centrally. The eSite Unified Network Management Platform provides compact, standard, and professional network management of a variety of devices, both Huawei and those from other vendors, in one platform. It allows users to customize management of third-party devices and helping users to establish a network management system catering for their own needs rather than a one-size-fits-all type of solution. Okay, so in summary, why should I consider Huawei? Hopefully you see these are some of the reasons that I just talked about are coming to the forefront. Number one, on the campus, I think we show a great story in 10 to 40 to 100 gig transition. We are extremely green, as I mentioned, which is some of the characteristics I've described. We do have BYOD-ready solutions. We also support devices. We are a major device vendor, both tablets and phones, on top of our networking solutions. From a data center perspective, we do have SDN-ready solutions for you in the Agile switch. We have the Cloud Engine with industry-leading performance and density. And we do have an entire product line specifically for the data center. No need to go elsewhere to another vendor for a piece of the action. Okay, before I turn it over to our demo, just want to remind you we do have some triple play promotions going on for the end of the year here. They involve both our storage, our switching, and our video conferencing products. We'd love to have you take advantage of these financial offers and get some of these in your network very soon. And again, we'll provide full details if you just hit us with an email at the end of this webinar. Okay, at this point, let me turn it over to my first special invited guest from Huawei, who will be demonstrating the eDesigner tool for comparing us to the competition.
Hello, everybody. This is Yang from Huawei Enterprise USA. I'm the networking product manager. I'm in charge of the router, switch, WLAN, and all the networking products, including the DWDM. You know, firstly, I would like to say we call ourselves a better way ICT solution. What does it mean? If you already have been partnered with Huawei, you will figure out, okay, we have a great portfolio, but great means you have a very huge things you need to learn. If you back to the ICT Summit, the ICT Nation, we back to the May we hold in the Cupertino, you will remember that I doing a presentation and I say, okay, one day you will have a tool, then you can do your design using your Cisco equipment, and finally you can turn that whole solution into the Huawei solution and get a quotation. And I can tell you we're on the way. For the recent 2 years, we are always doing the development for this kind of tool. Today I'm going to show you as Huawei eDesigner, and you can design the solution using Huawei equipment or using other competitors' equipment. Simply do the solution, and finally you can get a Huawei solution and quotation. Let's go ahead. Actually, I would like to call the eDesigner we do is the 3S solution. That's simple design, simple convert, and the simple evaluation. Actually, this kind of tool is all web-based. So you can log in from the URL. If you get an account, of a smart configuration tool, you can get into this. If you don't have an account, we will send you the follow-up information and guide you how to get an account. So you can log into the tool and do the design. We call this the 3S solution, and I will show you a step-by-step. Okay, this is the main page of Huawei eDesigner. If you doing like this, we can do in the campus solution design, desktop cloud solution design, fusion sphere solution design, and also the backup solution design. Today, I would like to show you is the design campus solution. The network speed is a little bit slow, but our concept is, okay, you have your requirement, you have your customer's requirement, and you input the requirement, and finally you get a Huawei solution. Okay, this is a major design page. So you should enter what kind of network you are looking for. Whether you are looking for a campus network or the wireless campus network or an integrated wire and wireless campus network. So the difference between the two is whether you are including the WLAN design in the network. And will the network service the video? If it is yes, so you should accuse and you have the high performance. And also the network performance degree. You can have the low, medium, high, and the number of users you're using. And also the terminals will access into the network, the percentage of the WLAN network. And under below, you can input your detailed requirements, such as say, okay, you want FE access or GIG access. Okay, how many port of the switch do you want, and what's the downlink port type, and do you need to support the PoE? If you select WLAN, you also need to choose some of the parameter. But the parameter is not about product, it's all about the customer's requirement. Okay, I will set all of this by default, and it goes to the next. On the next page, you will input the network skill. Actually, you input the user, you input the current access point, but finally you should figure out, okay, how many wire ports do you want? Because each user maybe have 2 or 3 ports. So I will use everything by default. I didn't do the outside WLAN coverage. Okay, here you go. You go to the final page, you select the device. You can have a look of the summary of the device we choose, and I will just choose by default and then finish. After you click finish, you can see, okay, here is the we can have the topology information. Here, this is the topology information. You can copy and even output in the design report. You can have the solution highlights, the things you are using in the network design. It has different page and to introduce you different highlights your solution have. And you can have the requirement information you input. What's your basic requirement you input for the design, and the network scale, and the device, and also you get the final configuration. This is a product list. You can output the product list and send to your Huawei channel manager or Huawei account manager. Say, okay, I want a quotation on this, and what's my budget? And if you think this is not right, you can also adjust the solution. If you are a registered account, you can also archive to My eDesigner. So next time when you log in, you can go to My Workspace and find the solution you design. This is one of the solutions we're going to make is, okay, using the customer's requirement, and it goes to the design. But next I will show you some, okay, I think that is very amazing tool, or you can have fun and go here, convert peer vendor solution. Here we have. Firstly, especially for the SMB market, firstly choose, okay, what kind of network type you use. Actually, the network logically it has, okay, 0-layer mode and 1-layer mode. One layer means, okay, one router layer and one switch layer, and you have 2-layer and 3-layer. So today I will take the 1-layer. I will take the 2-layer, for example. Just go to next. Okay, this is the special thing we would like to introduce is here. Okay, here all the product is other vendors, so it's not Huawei. You can use the familiar way to deal with. Such as for the access network, I use the Cisco. I use the Cisco C2960S, the 48-port Gigi downlink network. And the quantity I choose 5, and for the core switch, I would like to choose the smallest chassis of the Cisco. And also I can do some of the WLAN network design. I choose whatever. Okay, for the access controller and the router, firewall, and whether do you need a whether you need a Cisco network management system. Okay, I choose this all by default, and I just click finish. Okay, here you got a solution comparison. On the left side, that is the Cisco product. On the middle side, that is a Huawei product and solution. And on the last part, the solution introduces, okay, Huawei product advantages at the same level. So you can answer your customer's question directly. Say, okay, this is your Cisco solution, and this is a Huawei solution, and we have this kind of advantages. It also will show you topology information and configuration information. So you can do that is export the device list and send to your account manager for the budget for apply a price or get a quotation. That is the simplest way you can do, and to trying to figure out how you can make Huawei solution easily. And all the 2 years we are all doing the thing is make your way to easier to work with Huawei. We would like to simplify your work and simplify your process when you're switching from the other vendors into Huawei. This is all about today's presentation about the demo, so I will hand the microphone to Thomas.
Thanks very much for your words there and for the demonstration. And let me move back to the presentation now. And Mario, hopefully you're on the line there. Mario is joining us remotely, and we'll be covering the vendor and his experience so far, and the business value that we think we've created together.
All right. Thank you, Thomas. My name is Mario Gurin. Our company is Ecotech Solutions Group. We are based in Zionsville, Indiana. We have a team of 40 professionals. We were recipient of the CRN Award in 2012 and also 2013. We also a minority-owned company. We're certified as with a minority business enterprise. We are essentially a VAR and an MSP, and our services are divided in 4 categories. So we have network services, we offer cloud services, UC and mobility, and we also offer application development, as we are also an independent software vendor. As far as our industry expertise, we have very strong expertise in healthcare, in manufacturing, government, and in legal area. So on my next slide, I'm going to talk about why we partner with Huawei. And for us as a VAR and as a managed service providers, there are things that we're a smaller company. We're only 40 professionals. So there are things that are very, very important to us. One, because we're a small company, we want to limit the amount of technology partners out there. You know, in the technology market today, there is over 2,000 companies that are considered tier 1 technology partners. And being a small company, we cannot partner with 2,000 companies for services, so we become selective. And we want to partner with companies that can offer as much solution and services as possible for us to limit the number of companies that we partner with. So that's one area for us. The second one is partnering with a company who would be responsive, who will pay attention to you, who will give you attention, pre-sale and post-sale support. A company that will also invest in innovation, and true innovation, not making random acquisitions from dissimilar technologies like we've seen other companies doing out there. And as Thomas mentioned earlier in the presentation, Huawei has 70,000 engineers in R&D. And what does it mean for us as a value-add reseller? To us, it means that when we're looking for a solution, whether it's a UC solution, whether it's a cloud engine, server solution, mobility solution, we can go to only one place. It's a one-stop shop. We come to them, discuss a number of solutions without having to talk to 2,000 different vendors. So that's very important to us. The cost is another one. We traditionally sold some Cisco appliances, and in a small and mid-sized market where we live, we've had a lot of issues with pricing. And a lot of times we were unable to make sales because we couldn't get the customer price with the Cisco appliances. Well, we haven't had that conversation with Huawei. We've become a partner about a year ago, and in the past year, we have not had a single pricing objection from any of our either clients or prospect. So we definitely have the right price point with our Huawei solutions, and also the quality of the product. So on the next slide, we're going to go over some of the solutions that we have deployed for customers to give you an idea. So here there is a TE30, which is a telepresence system, and it's also, as mentioned this earlier on some of the previous slides, that there is a promotion going on with this right now. But this is a solution that we deployed for one of our clients, headquartered in Indianapolis, and with several branch offices across the country and across Europe, and also a number of distributors within the global scale. So with the TE30, we've been able to set up a real telepresence system for these clients to allow all their locations, the branch offices, including their distributors at the global scale, to be able to communicate real time. Very cost-effective solution. When we came to the customer and deployed the solution, they were very shocked with the pricing. They couldn't believe it. They were even concerned that the solution may not work given the price point. But they were very pleased, and we've been deploying more and more solutions to this customer. So the TE30, we've used a cloud bridge using protocol H323 for this telepresence solution. So this allows the customer to have daily communication with the suppliers. Some of them are in South Africa, some of them are in Canada, and they have branch offices in Europe and across the U.S. They've also been able to conduct interviews for other U.S. branch offices and European offices. Suppliers have been able to show them specific features that they're looking for on their product or defect that they want to address during meetings in real time. So this has been an incredible cost-saving solution for them. On the next slide, this is another Huawei solution that we've deployed, and this was for about 70,000 square feet manufacturing facility, again, based out of Indianapolis. We've used some of the 1200 series routers. Thomas mentioned those earlier in the slides as well. The 1200 router series are a typical router, but they have another function that is very unique to Huawei, which is the ability to act as an access point controller. So we've added this router, the 1200 series, the 1220, on the network to be used as a router and as an access point controller, and also deployed the AP6010 access point on the LAN as well, using the Huawei. Again, all this was about 50% lower than a typical Cisco solution would have been. The other great thing about this was the eSite WLAN tool that Wang went over briefly on the previous slide. It's very close to Cisco Works app software. However, with this solution, it comes included, so there is no separate license cost for this. Very, very powerful tool for WLAN management. It gives you visibility on your entire LAN and WLAN network, including devices that are not Huawei. So even if there are some Cisco devices or dealing devices on on the network. Those devices could be identified and managed with the site management tool. Very powerful solution. And that is it for now. The last slide has our contact information. If you have any questions regarding Huawei product and Huawei solution, we would gladly answer them. My email address, our website, and office number is still on the site. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mario. I really appreciate your kind words there. From a game plan perspective, next steps hopefully involve some of these for the audience. Contact us for a link on the eDesigner tool to take it for a test ride. We'd love to have you arrange a Huawei demo for a no-risk trial. Contact us with some contact information that I'm about to give you. And we hope you take a serious look at the storage and the TE30 offers that I have, as well as the K-switches that I just mentioned. And again, information on those is readily available. So at this point, Nick, let me turn it over to you, and appreciate the time today.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Young. Thank you, Mario. Great job, everybody. We did get a lot of questions, so we have a few minutes to try to address as many of those as we can. The first one, Thomas, I think this is probably for you. One of the attendees asked about a little bit of the background and the benefits of 802.11ac, and just wondering, one of the questions was about our recommended adoption time for that specific version of 802. So any thoughts about when people should adopt it, and a little bit more about the background and the benefits of that technology?
Yeah, so to take a step back before we get to implementation, let me just very quickly summarize that 802.11ac, which is, by the way, also known as 5G Wi-Fi, in case that term comes up, is very much upon us now. Start demoing in your networks, certainly, and I'd say within the next quarter, switching over to some 802.11c makes a lot of sense in a lot of networks. Huawei was among the first to both demonstrate it and have it available in the market. Just to show you how it compares to the current 802.11, the fastest current 802.11n Wi-Fi connections max out at about 150 megabits with one antenna, 300 with two antennas, and 450 with three antennas. The 802.11ac connections will be roughly 3 times faster, so that would be 450 megabits with one, 900 with two, and 1.3 gig respectively with that number of antennas. And so you can see the capability for pushing the volumes of traffic that I mentioned we're growing on networks is substantially higher with 802.11ac. Item number 2, the characteristics that you want to talk about when you're talking about wireless, is interference or lack thereof, which is what you want. Wi-Fi itself is omnidirectional, but 802.11ac routers will be able to use directional transmission and reception technology that is called beamforming, and the router will be able to identify the rough location of the device it's talking to and strengthen the appropriate antenna accordingly. The idea is to reduce interference. And the good news is that it's compatible with all the versions of 802.11 that came before it, A, B, G, and N, and should be, like I said, definitely start looking into it now, get to do your research, and I can definitely imagine that a lot of us will be deploying it in the next quarter to 2 quarters on our networks.
Excellent, excellent, very good. By the way, obviously Huawei's contact information is up on the screen here, so if you do want to take a look at that eDesigner tool that Young was showing earlier, definitely send us an email at that huaweiinfo@huawei.com email address, or give us a call at the phone number below, and we'll definitely help set you up if you take a look at that tool. Another question had to do with SDN, and this question is, where does Huawei see SDN in terms of its adoption, and when is it likely to really ramp up, and do we have any forecast numbers around that?
Yeah, so let me take that one. So the SDN adoption, I think for a lot of people, it's let's call it kind of a science project right now. It's forecasted to be about $250 million market all up, all in this year by the major houses, but it should ramp reasonably quickly to about over $3 billion by 2016, so not that far away. Most likely initial adoption will be from large-scale cloud providers, the larger enterprises, and as you can imagine, research, education, and financial applications, which often lead the charge in a new technology. The SDN adoption will, in the data center, however, I think will be the primary use case here in the very near term.
Okay, excellent. Hey, we had a follow-up question to the question about adoption of 802.11ac, and if Young's still in the room, he might be the best guy to answer it. But the specific question is, should we adopt now or should we wait for phase 2? And I don't know if Young is there and able to answer that, but that's the question about 802.11ac.
You mean for the tool or for the
802.11ac?
802.11ac.
The 11ac should be available at early next year, so it will be the first quarter of next year we will release the formal version, so it's business version.
Okay, sounds good. Next question has to do with people who, and I think this is pretty much going to address every person in the audience today that has equipment from other vendors. The question is, how easy is it really to add Huawei equipment into an existing environment that may have Cisco, HP, Juniper, other networking gear? Just generally, what's that process like for a new customer, a new Huawei customer?
So you know, if you think about it, as I mentioned, we have about a 2.5 year footprint in the enterprise space in the U.S. So the last thing that Huawei thinks we're going to run into is a total greenfield network where only Huawei equipment will be used. That's number one. We absolutely have interoperability top of mind all the time, and we sit on most of the standards boards with often leadership roles. So this is very much an initiative that Huawei not only participates in, but leads in most cases. And so we absolutely recognize there will be multi-vendor networks, that customers do not want finger pointing. They simply want the gear to work. And so that's the attitude we go in pretty much every single day, knowing that we're going to have to interoperate and make that a top priority.
Okay, excellent. And at this point, I think we have time for one more question. I do want to mention that there were a number of very detailed questions, so if you didn't get your question answered in the Q&A, we'll absolutely follow up with you after and either call you to have a conversation or email you. So we will follow up with everyone within the next day or so for any questions that we didn't answer. The final one is, where can I see some of these Huawei solutions in action? And Thomas, I know Huawei's been to a number of trade shows over the past few months, but you might want to talk a little bit about some of the demo centers, some of the trade shows that we've attended, and you also mentioned supercomputing coming up this month.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there are many ways to engage with us on the road. Let me just start off with the demo centers. We have very active demo centers both here in Cupertino, California, as well as in Plano. And just ping us with a question. We'll let you know specifically how and where to take advantage of those. We have been, as Nick has mentioned, been on with many trade shows and webinars, and where we'll be on the road is very much summarized in our monthly enterprise newsletter. And we'd be glad to follow up with each and every one of you on directions on how to sign up. And you can have it in your in-tray, in essence, every 4 weeks. It's very summary, so we're not going to bore you with a lot of detail. It's about a 2-page that we come out with every month, and among the many things it summarizes are technology, tips, and news, as well as where can you engage with Huawei on the road.
Excellent. Okay, well, we're at the top of the hour, so to be respectful of everyone's time, we're going to go ahead and close it out. But thank you again for your attention and your time today on our webinar, and be on the lookout for an invite to another upcoming webinar within the next weeks. We'll be doing them pretty much every other week, so appreciate your time. If you have other suggestions for future webinars, please send us an email at that huaweiinfo@huawei.com email address, and we look forward to speaking with you all very soon. Thank you for your time.